This evening, we gather to worship and also to reflect on the journeys that led us to Manchester, carried us forward while we were here, and are sending us out as persons of ability and conviction who will continue to lead principled, productive, and compassionate lives that improve the human condition. You will hear stories from graduating students and beloved faculty and staff who are also retiring at the end of this academic year. We welcome you, families, friends, fellow students and graduates, faculty and staff, to this celebration worship. We thank you for accompanying, guiding, and encouraging our students along the journey. As we continue in worship and celebration, will you pause with me for a moment of prayer? O holy guide and leader of our journey, we give thanks for the lessons that have been learned on the path of our students' education, for the friendships, the mentors, and the determination to become their best selves as they traveled this road together. For the laughter and the tears, the accomplishments and the hardships, all which led to growth and a better understanding of who they are, who you are calling them to be. As we worship together this evening, seeing a glimpse of the Manchester experience from the words of beloved students, faculty, and staff, we honor the journey and the hard work that it took to get to this day. This day that begins a weekend of celebration, of goodbyes, and of new beginnings. This day that took forever to get here and also came all too quickly. Let us rejoice, for the journey is long and will continue beyond the walls of Manchester University. Though the classwork is done, our life work is not. Let us continue on this road together, separated by miles but joined by the heart, making this world a better place together. With overflowing hearts, we pray. Amen. Will you please rise for the call to worship?
The call to worship is Psalm 133. How very good and pleasant it is when kindred live together in unity. It is like the precious oil on the beard, on the head, running down upon the beard, on the beard of Aaron, running down over the collar of his robes. It is like the dew of Hermon, which falls on the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord ordained his blessing, life forevermore. If you'd please join us in singing our opening hymn, Praise to the Lord the Almighty.
Oh I will be reading Hebrews 10:23 through 25. Let us hold fast to the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who has promised is faithful. And let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching.
It's difficult to sum up my college experience and how I have grown in the past 4 years in just a few minutes. Instead of trying to tell you everything, I'll give you just a few glimpses. My journey started in Bryan, Ohio. While my high school classmates complained about how small our town was and how excited they were to leave, I had already known for a while I would be going to Manchester, in an even smaller town. I was excited to be able to continue running and to become a teacher, something I had always dreamed of. I never guessed I would be traveling to Greece and Turkey, learning about other cultures and faiths, contributing to my college-long journey of growing in my faith and learning about the faiths of others. I became a part of Campus Interfaith Board afterwards, traveling to places closer to Manchester University and learning from people of many different faiths. I never guessed I would be traveling to Quito, Ecuador, to stay for an entire 5 months, learning Spanish and teaching English, but more importantly, learning about Ecuadorian culture, politics, and life with my students, some of the most amazing people I've ever met. In high school, I didn't dare to dream of running in college with a group of passionate women who not only won conference championships, but took on the job of mentoring me, attempting to prepare me for classes I would take and relationships not only with boys, but professors, bosses, and coaches. I have even had the opportunity to pass down some of the wisdom I have learned through running conversations, which are really the best conversations. Living out in the country, my mom makes sure I don't run outside on the roads after dark. But in college, I made friends who were crazy enough to bike with me on the cross-country course to keep me from tripping over roots while I ran late at night because the day had been just too hectic. While my mom is a pastor, and people sometimes joke that I will become one too, I didn't think I would be preaching in college. I've been blessed to have the chance to minister with Eel River Community Church of the Brethren. Not only have I been able to teach Sunday school, play piano, and speak every once in a while, but I have also found a community that truly supports and cares about me. Along with so many unexpected experiences, I am well on my way to achieving my dream of becoming a teacher. I have had the opportunity to meet some of the most inspiring students, whether I've tutored them individually in math, taught them as a small group of students in an intervention group, or taught them as a class during my student teaching. I have learned lessons that can't be taught with a textbook from my professors and classroom teachers. I have taken care of a student while she was throwing up, and I have helped students calm down when school was just too stressful. I have received the most adorable pictures and notes from students who have touched my heart and kept me going when I thought I might be too tired or too stressed to teach well. With my last day of student teaching completed today, it seems like maybe graduation will come after all. Although the prospect of life after graduation is both exciting and scary, I know I can do it because of the person I have become through the experiences and relationships I have gained from my time at Manchester University.
Right now, I am feeling overwhelmed with gratitude for the opportunities I have had to teach, to coach, and to learn at Manchester University. For those of you who may not know, I'm retiring after teaching for 39 years sociology, social work, and criminal justice, and coaching cross-country and track and field for 31 years, including Ruth. I have served 6 presidents and 8 deans. I have been a part of Manchester University for almost 1/3 of its life. I want to thank President Dave McFadden and the other 5 presidents and all the other administrators who have seen to it that we have had the resources we need to be partners with our students in learning together. So many gifted people make their unique contributions to making us an effective and efficient academic community, including people like Patty Cox, you'll be hearing from a little later, who brightens up our day every day. To those of you who are graduating tomorrow, thank you for allowing me to graduate with your outstanding class. All of you have been able to achieve your goals at Manchester University in a much shorter time than I have. I want to thank those of you family members and friends who are here because you have contributed to or supported those who are being honored this weekend. Enjoy and celebrate the adventures of the young adult in your life. We deeply appreciate the sacrifices you have made to make their graduation from Manchester University possible. To be paid to be a teacher and lifelong learner is truly an inspiring and rewarding way to live. I represent the 4th generation of teachers in my family. My sister and 2 younger brothers and I each said at some point during our mildly rebellious adolescence that we would never be teachers. Well, guess what? All of us ended up being college teachers, and 3 of us have been married to teachers. I consider teaching to be a sacred privilege. The word education, as I learned from my high school Latin teacher, Lucille Carson, means to draw out or draw out from. I think that education at its best is not pouring facts into people's heads, but helping to draw out the unique person residing inside each one of us. Manchester's mission is for each of us to be persons of ability and conviction. President Dave McFadden regularly encourages us to be our best selves. I began asking questions when I was 2 years old, and I haven't stopped since. My prevailing attitude toward life is, what can I learn here and now that I can't learn at other times and places? While at Manchester, I've had the opportunity to travel, to live, or to study in 40 different countries. In 3 of those countries, I have seen violent conflict ended with peaceful negotiation. In South Africa, in Northern Ireland, and in the Central American country of El Salvador. In all of these, former enemies have found the strength to come together, to forgive each other, and to create new communities working toward lasting peace. Together, they are building a better world. At Manchester, I have had the privilege of seeing thousands of students grow and develop each year and over 4 years. They are now living out Manchester's mission as persons, as parents, as practitioners of many professions, as responsible citizen leaders. So many of those alumni, now my friends, are represented by a letter I got recently from the mother of Max Jones, who graduated as one of our criminal justice majors 2 years ago. Max was a safety on our football team. He and I had many classes together, including studying together during a January session at the University of the West Indies in Kingston, Jamaica, and doing a practicum with the Anderson Police Department. Max's mother said, "I am sending you this to let you know how great Max is doing and to thank you for playing such a positive role in Max's life." Max came home from school one day in 7th grade, astonished to learn that helping people can be a job. He was so excited then and many times more recently, retelling stories from his studies at Manchester. Living in a Midwestern sheltered life, he never knew the world had displaced families who just need a little nudge to get back on their feet. Please take pride in knowing that Max is living a young man's dream in Colorado. He works for a division of the Mile High Behavioral Center and has recently been named to head a new street outreach program for the city of Aurora. He is reaching out to the homeless of his community and making a real difference in the world. Our family is so incredibly proud of the young man Max has become, and I especially want to thank you for being more than a professor to our younger son. With much gratitude, Renee Jones. One of my favorite poets is Mary Oliver. In one of her poems, she asks each of us, "So what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" I invite you, I challenge you, to take your many skills and join Max Jones and the thousands of other Manchester University alumni to improve the quality of life for the 7.5 billion members of the human family who call planet Earth our home. And I thank each of you from the bottom of my heart for your part in making Manchester University the wonderful journey it has been for me.
Finally, all of you have unity of spirit, sympathy, love for one another, a tender heart, and a humble mind. Do not repay evil for evil or abuse for abuse, but on the contrary, repay with a blessing. It is for this that you were called, that you might inherit a blessing.
When Bekah first invited me to do this reflection, I was inclined to say no. I didn't think that I had a story worth telling, because unlike many of my friends who have attended and still attend Manchester, I never went through many of the struggles typically associated with college. Classwork had never been exceedingly difficult, and although they still taught me the skills that I needed, they were hardly troublesome. Fortunately, I never had any roommate problems and actually became very good friends with a number of my roommates. My major and my intentions for after college never changed. I came in as an English major, looking to go into journalism as a career, and next week I start at a local newspaper. Surely, I thought, I don't have a story to tell about how Manchester has made me a better person. Sure, it better equipped me for my career, but I could not see the personal growth that came with it. I realized only after accepting Bekah's offer and thinking long and hard how this university and its faculty and staff have made me into a better person, more emotionally secure and mature than I would ever have been on my own. I think a turning point in my college career came with Beata Gilliar's critical writing class in my sophomore year. She noticed some inconsistencies with the quality of my work, and it was always clearly my work, but we were both curious to find out why I had some good writing days, but so many more bad writing days. So we sat in her office the one day and had a heart-to-heart conversation, both of us with our guard down, just trying to figure out what in my life was creating such a dramatic imbalance. And through the course of our discussion, we came to the conclusion that I was holding a great deal of inward pain and shame and anger. Several years before our discussion, I broke my wrist in a fit of irresponsibility and had to have 3 expensive and very painful surgeries to fix it. At the time that Beata and I discovered this was what was troubling me, it was about 2 months after my final surgery. Through her help and through our discussions, I came to accept myself and forgive me for what I did, and learned how to better understand and cope with my emotions. And another significant time, this one of maturation, came with the increased responsibility of being a campus ministry assistant in the time between Pastor Walt and Bekah. When Walt left in December of my junior year, a considerable part of the responsibilities of religious life fell on my colleagues and I. And while Walt had faith that we could do it, I had always considered myself a responsible person. This very small taste of what it's like to be a campus pastor showed me that I was much less prepared than I thought I was. The additional campus ministry duties, alongside my 500 and 300 level classes, forced me to be extremely dedicated to my work, and I rose to the challenge. At the end of the brief 3 months that felt like a year, the university had hired one awesome pastor, and I came out more mature and responsible than ever. And Manchester also introduced me to many new and exciting ideas and activities. My first and only time to date leaving the country was with Mark Angelos on a trip to England, Ireland, and Wales. This introduced me to foreign currency, and showed me that people are more alike than they are different, no matter where you are on the globe. I also made some great friendships within the class as we worked together to navigate our foreign surroundings. Several of the art classes here provided me with hands-on work, and Professor Diesberg's torchworking class really introduced me to a whole host of new things. Working with glass was a lot of fun. I've never worked with anything that behaves quite like it does, and so that new experience was exciting for me. Beyond these, however, the most beneficial and also most frightening of the new experiences I had at Manchester was my summer internship in Elgin with the Church of the Brethren Communications. Here I was, from rural Indiana, dropped in the middle of a Chicago suburb and almost entirely responsible for myself. I had no experience cooking and was honestly terrified to be without a car. I'd have to bike in traffic manage my own budget, and create my own food. But I found through this internship that not only could I succeed while being in charge of these relatively mundane aspects of life, I found that I liked them and that I really thrived while doing so. But perhaps the most beneficial component of my time at Manchester was this: seeing that my own story has worth. When I thought I was average, typical, or boring, Manchester presented me with new challenges and encouraged me to think critically for myself. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I do have a story worth telling.
I'm not one of the faculty or staff. I'm just the staff. First of all, I want to thank President Dave McFadden because he came over, he left his busy schedule and had a picture taken with me. And how cool is that? That is so cool. And I want to thank all of you, for being there. There was, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the students. There was Gary, with the pictures, there was Gary, the maintenance man, office people, Phil, the security guy, some professors like Thelma, and then there was some staff, Jesse, Alan, Jim, even the dog, and I thought that was pretty neat. He's such a kind little thing. This university is your academic foundation for future study and professional success. And I know that all of you are going to succeed. I noticed the upper class helps the first year students get settled in. It's great to see how they mature. You find friendship and a sense of community here. I feel sad to be leaving. We all have so many memories to take with us. Here's a few for me. Chris and Seth has a band called Kumquat. They played at the Union and dedicated one song to me. Aaron and his little pets. Chad line dancing with the ARC special needs people, one of which is my son Johnny. Chad was having fun, I could tell. Lucas, his upbeat personality, he always makes me smile. Stratton, every day he'd come in, he'd say, "Another day in paradise." Wesley and his zombie baby doll, he said it was in good taste, and I went to look at it, and it was. There are so many young ladies so near to my heart: Nicole, Callie, Beth, Kennedy, Karen, Mariah, Daisy, and so many more. I am very proud of them. Michael Dixon, he comes in and calls me Pate. Coach Jansen interned here and came back. Basketball coach, Good, he was a little hyper student. He was here and he came back and he's a coach of the basketball team. The staff I work with are great people who cares much for the students. God has let me be a small part of your lives. I loved interacting on a first name basis with just about everyone that came through the Union. I do thank God for placing me here at this time. Thank you.
You can see why, after hearing those stories, we feel blessed, those of us who work here, to come to work every day and have these students in our classrooms, these colleagues with us in our workplace, and when we go to eat. We are blessed by all of you and by those of you who are here graduating. Thank you. Students have heard me say many times, and you heard several refer to it tonight, that Manchester is a place where you can be yourself and where you are challenged to be your best self. That's true also for our faculty and staff. This evening you heard from Ruth and Brad, Tyler and Patty about their time here at Manchester. You heard them cite, and you also heard echoes of our mission, respecting the infinite worth of every person, graduating persons of ability and conviction, drawing on our education and faith to lead principled, productive, and compassionate lives that improve the human condition. If commencement tomorrow is a time for celebration, then Baccalaureate tonight is a time for gratitude, for saying thank you. To our graduates, we are grateful for who you are and who you are becoming, and for what you will do to change our communities and the world. To our faculty, we are grateful that you help each of us to learn and grow by sharing your best selves as teachers and as mentors. To our staff, we are grateful for your deep friendship, caring, and service as you walk with us every day. Manchester is a wonderful place, a sacred place to learn, grow, and contribute. Thank you all. Please rise as you are able for our closing hymn.
Amen. friends, we have been given a great gift by having the opportunity to both start and finish a college education. What's more, we've had the chance to be educated at a place that teaches us how to make our world a better place. With this enormous gift comes an obligation to be the change. As you leave this place, to walk across a stage and enter a new phase of life, I leave you with a reminder from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Amen.